For returning Filipinos and other travelers to the Philippines, eto na ang answers to your frequently asked questions once you return back and travel to the Philippines. There are so many questions from returning Filipinos who are not overseas Filipino workers and other travelers back to the Philippines. What are the things that you need to prepare for? What can you expect once you're back in the airport? And what are the quarantine requirements for you from the government once you are here in Manila? And if you're going back to your home region, what are the other processes? So all of those we will answer today in this video. Hi everyone and welcome to my channel and welcome to a special segment. Question number 1. What are the important information that I should know now that I'm flying back to the Philippines in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic crisis? Ano ang mga importanteng impormasyon ang dapat kong malaman ngayon na pabalik na ako sa Pilipinas sa gitna ng COVID-19 pandemic crisis? Before flying to the Philippines, there are tasks that you have to do. We will know more about that in a little while. And at the same time, upon arrival at the airport, there are changes from the last time that you were here. And let's get to know more about the quarantine facility that you will be assigned to. And then, once you're ready and to go home, what's your transportation? At last but not the least is, once you arrive in your home region or your area of destination, what can you expect? Help guide you regarding the 5 steps that you have to do once you're back here in the Philippines, I have made a 3-part video series that you can watch from my YouTube channel. So please do watch this at bibigyan ko po kayo and I'll give you details for each of the steps that can guide you as per my experience when I traveled back to the Philippines just a few weeks ago. And for this video, I will definitely give you an overview and guide to all the questions that were frequently asked to me by Filipinos returning back to the Philippines who are not OFW and other travelers who are flying back to the Philippines. Second question, what are the important things I need to do before flying back to the Philippines? As a non-OFW Filipino and a foreigner who is traveling back to the Philippines, you have the following to do before you go back to the Philippines. So number 1, before you reach the airport, you have to complete required online registration form and at the same time other forms that is required by your airline. I'll discuss that in a little while. What are specifically those forms? And at the same time, for non-OFWs and foreigners, before you fly to the Philippines, just make sure to have a confirmed booking with a DOH or Department of Health accredited hotel for your quarantine stay. So it could be 3 to 5 days in Manila and at the same time 1 to 2 days for Cebu. What are the online registration that I need to complete before arriving at the airport? These are the online registration forms that are usually required for any traveler flying back to the Philippines. Number 1, OASIS. OASIS is only for OFWs or overseas Filipino workers. Number 2, Red Cross ECIF online registration. This is for anyone and everyone traveling or going back to the Philippines. So, if you're a returning Filipino non-OFW or if you're a foreigner, definitely you have to complete this ECIF from Red Cross. And other online forms are from the airlines or the country that you will be transiting to. So they have their own online registration requirements. Please check accordingly. Question number 4. What are the steps to apply for these online registration forms that I need to complete before arriving at the airport in Manila? To help guide you in the step-by-step process on how to complete each of these online forms, I have prepared again another sets of videos. One is for the OASIS online registration, which is for the OFWs, and the other one, which you can use, is the Red Cross ECIF online registration. So please again, watch it from my channel. So that's Jamey IRS TV channel, and please do subscribe also from my channel so that you can get updated with what you need when it comes to traveling back to the Philippines. I have two reminders for you in completing your online registration. First one is prepare your passport. This will help ensure that you give the correct spelling of the information or details that you will be giving. And second is make sure that you also prepare your flight details, your mobile number, as well as emergency contact details, including their mobile number. Will I be allowed to fly back to the Philippines right now? For OFWs, land-based or sea-based, again, it will depend where you are based. So if you are based in a country wherein there is still border restrictions, then you cannot still fly. But then again, if the border is free, I mean it's open, then definitely you can be repatriated back to the Philippines. Now for non-OFWs, now if for example you are Balikbayan holding a Philippine passport, as long as again borders are open in your country, definitely you can go back or to our country. Now for foreigners, or for example some Filipinos who chose not to be a dual holder of passports, tendency is you will not be able to fly back to the Philippines and once we still have the restrictions. So apparently for the past few months, leisure travel is not allowed. So going out and coming in the Philippines, only business, it's restricted to business. What I'm sharing to you right now is based from the updated requirements for any travelers going to the Philippines. Since we are still in quarantine, general quarantine, so it's still restricted to business and again anything that is urgent and required transactions, but leisure is not part of that. And who knows, when you travel to the Philippines, depends on what the date is, who knows that restrictions might have been lifted already. So please do check the updates. Even after you've listened and watched my video, make sure that you keep yourself updated. Am I required to be swab tested in the Philippines? Yes, upon arrival at the Philippines, you will be required to undergo the swab test that will be administered by the trained personnel of Bureau of Quarantine or BOQ. So, what type of swab test will be administered to us? Usually in the airport, it will be the RT-PCR COVID-19 testing unless otherwise they change it. Next question, will I pay for the swab test? How many days before we can get the swab test result? For OFWs based on land, it will be paid by OWA, while seafarers, it will be paid by the manning agency. If you are a non-OFW Filipino, a traveler or a foreigner, yes, you have to pay for your swab test at the airport. At this point in time, I kept researching and still have not found the actual price that they are asking travelers or foreigners for swab test in Manila. However, I was able to find the amount for Cebu. So for Cebu, they ask Filipinos for 4,400. So these are OFWs. And for foreigners and other travelers, they are asking for 4,900 for the swab test. Again, I'm yet not sure if it's the same with Manila Airport. I still have to research on that, and once I have it, I'll definitely upload it from the comment part of this video. A lot of returning Filipinos and foreigners are asking me this question. How is the swab test procedure? Is it scary? And will it be difficult for me? Now for the PCR COVID-19 swab test, it is usually the nose swab and the throat swab. If it's painful, is it painful? Not really. It will be best if you have an idea about it from someone who had experienced how it is to be swab tested for COVID-19. You're lucky because I have been swabbed 2 times already. So, 2 times for nose swab and then 1 time for throat swab. I can say hindi naman siya masakit. It is not really painful. It's just like it has what we call the stinging sensation and depends on what manner in which the medical practitioner had done it. That can either be a little bit like this one. The stinging sensation will be quite great, depends on the position of your head, especially for the nose swab. So what I can simply say is make sure that you just follow the instructions of the medical practitioner. If you can tilt your head, that will be better so that they can get the instrument inside your nose faster and easier, right? And then, because it's for both nostrils. And then for the throat swab, I had a little bit of difficulty at the beginning because it's my first time to get swabbed. Throat swabbed. But then again, I just follow the instructions, and after you know it, you're over and done with. To know more about swab test, please do watch the video part 2 for my 3-part video series for the guide for returning OFWs to the Philippines. What additional requirements will the Philippine Immigration require from me? The Philippine Immigration will expect that you have already completed your ECIF registration form, or else you will have challenges to pass through immigration, and they will ask you to repeat or ensure that you complete the ECIF registration before you can pass through immigration. So, to avoid any hassle or delay in immigration, make sure that you complete your ECIF registration form for Red Cross before you fly to the Philippines. What is a QR code and what is the user purpose of this? Now, this QR code is a link to completing your ECIF Red Cross registration form. So once you completed this and successfully submitted it, then you will receive an email confirmation with your QR code, which captured all your information uploaded on the system. QR code is what we call the quick response code. This is a type of matrix barcode that can be read by cell phone or any type of machine. Now, in the case of our airport, so they are using this so that we can expedite and ensure that the process in the airport will be more efficient for everyone. This is a sample email that you will receive from ECIF as your email registration confirmation. As you can see from the top, it will give you your QR code. Make sure that you take a screenshot of this so that you can easily show it to anyone who will ask you about this from the airport, like from the Coast Guard personnel before your swab test, as well as when you are at your assigned quarantine hotel desk, then they will also ask you for this information, and even immigration as well. Just below the email registration that you receive, you will see a link that says update your details. So just in case there are information that maybe you have wrongly inputted or really you need to update, just click this link and enter the passcode that they will give to you, and you can update your details. As easy as that. Am I required to be quarantined upon arrival to the Philippines? Every traveler and airline passengers arriving in the Philippines are required to undergo the mandatory quarantine. How will I know which hotel I can be quarantined to? Before you go out of the airport, please make sure that you go to the quarantine center assignment so that you can know your hotel assignment. For OFW, please proceed to the OWA desk. For seafarers, with the local manning agency desk. And for non-OFW, for all of you, so please proceed to the DOT or Department of Tourism desk. Now again, if you already booked a hotel prior to flying to the Philippines, then just coordinate with them so that they can check, and at the same time regarding the transportation going to the hotel. And then if you have not booked any hotel at all, then you can definitely ask their assistance regarding it. What are the DOH accredited hotels for quarantine in Manila? These are the list of DOH accredited quarantine hotels. Now, they divided this into categories. So, we have facilities or hotels accredited only for mandatory quarantine. So, we have 119 hotels as of July 1, 2020. And then there are also facilities approved for stringent quarantine. So, we have 114 hotels. So, what's the difference between these two? So, let me just give you a guidance regarding this one. When we talk about mandatory quarantine, this is for all passengers arriving in the Philippines. They must undergo rapid antibody COVID-19 and stay at the mandatory quarantine facility. Then, everyone have the option to stay at a hotel approved as a quarantine facility of their choice at their own expense. Now, for OFW, just like what I've mentioned earlier, the cost, test, and hotel are free of charge charged to OWA and their manning agency. For stringent quarantine, it is required for all passengers coming from a high-risk area as identified by the World Health Organization, or in case of sea-based overseas Filipino, those from a high-risk vessel. Now, it will also be required for any passengers with flu-like symptom based on assessment of a health officer at the airport. Now, this passenger must undergo the RT rapid test PCR COVID-19 testing at the port of entry or designated quarantine facility. Now, they will be required to stay at a stringent quarantine facility until their test results are released. This is the list of the hotels accredited for mandatory quarantine. We have 119 hotels as of July 1, 2020. These are the list of hotels for stringent quarantine as of July 2020. I know there are so many lists of hotels here, and to make it easy for you, I have provided a link on this page from the comment section. So please feel free to click the link so that you can choose the hotel prior and pre-book it before you even arrive in the Philippines. When can I go home from the hotel quarantine facility? Before going back home, you have to receive the swab test result that you are negative from COVID-19 virus. So please watch the part 3 of my 3-part video series for my guide for returning Filipinos and OFWs from my YouTube channel, and this will give you the complete details on what you need to expect when you're waiting for your results. Will pay for my quarantine expenses. For OFW land base, it will be OWA. For sea base, it will be the local manning agency. And for non-OFWs and foreigners, you have to shoulder your own hotel quarantine expenses, including your food for all the meals. If I tested positive from the swab test, what will happen to me? For Filipinos who are not OFWs and other foreigners or travelers whose test results are positive, will be transferred to a designated hospital for further medical treatment. You will be taken care of by our medical practitioner until you get well. Last question. Once I go back home, what are the requirements I need to complete? Please follow your home regions or local government units procedures. If they ask you to do medical screening, testing, or hotel quarantine, please follow accordingly. And after this, you can definitely go home. Yay! I hope this video had helped you answer some of the frequently asked questions you have about returning back home as a non-OFW Filipino and a foreigner traveling back to the Philippines. And by the way, I want to invite you to please subscribe to my channel. I will give you updates on what you need when it comes to traveling back to the Philippines and other topics that definitely might interest you and help you keep you updated with what's happening in the Philippines and even around the world. This is Jamey saying thank you for watching my video. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay positive, everyone. Until our next video, God bless and see you soon in the Philippines.